It all started with a book. Not a rare, leather-bound grimoire found in some forgotten corner of a dusty antique shop. No, this one was just there. I found it on a bench in the park. A simple, black, Moleskine-style journal. It felt heavy in my hands, heavier than it should have. There was no name, no address, just a single, embossed word on the cover. Reader, I should have left it. I really should have. But curiosity, as they say, is a killer. That night, I opened it. The pages were filled with a spidery, elegant script. It wasn't a diary in the traditional sense. It was a story, a very compelling one. It was about a man named Elias who felt disconnected from the world, like he was watching his own life through a pane of glass. He described the feeling of being an observer, a passenger in his own body. The writing was so vivid, so raw, that I felt a strange kinship with him. I read for hours, completely engrossed. The story followed Elias as he tried to reconnect, to feel something, anything. He tried extreme sports, traveled to exotic places, fell in and out of love, but the feeling of detachment only grew stronger. The ink seemed to shimmer on the page, pulling me deeper into his existential dread. The next day, something felt off. I woke up feeling groggy, like I hadn't slept at all. Looking in the mirror, my reflection seemed distant. My own eyes looked back at me, but they felt like a stranger's. I brushed it off as a lack of sleep and a strange effect of the story. I went to work, but I couldn't focus. My colleagues' voices sounded muffled, their faces indistinct. It was like watching a movie with the sound turned down. The only thing that felt real was the memory of Elias's words, his struggle echoing in my mind. When I got home, I went straight for the journal. I had to know what happened to Elias. I opened it, and the story continued as if I'd never stopped reading. Elias was getting desperate. He started experimenting with strange rituals he'd read about, ancient practices meant to bind the soul more tightly to the physical form. He wrote about the taste of bizarre herbs, the sting of self-inflicted cuts, the dizzying chants that left him breathless. As I read, a cold dread washed over me. I felt a phantom ache on my own arm, tasted bitterness on my tongue. I was no longer just reading, I was experiencing it with him. I tried to put the book down, physically closed it and pushed it away, but my hands trembled with an irresistible urge to pick it up again. My heart was pounding. This wasn't normal, it was like a drug. I needed to know the end. I snatched it back and continued reading. Elias's final entry was terrifying. He'd found a ritual, the final one, he claimed. It involved a mirror, a candle, and a single drop of blood offered to the page. He wrote that this would either anchor him forever or sever the connection completely. The final line was, "I must know what it is to be real. I offer myself to the story. I offer myself to you, the reader." Then the page was blank. But as I stared, new words began to form, written in the same spidery script. But it wasn't Elias's story anymore. It was mine. The page described me, sitting in my dimly lit room, the book in my hands, my face pale with terror. It described the way my heart was hammering against my ribs, the way my breath hitched in my throat. I dropped the book as if it had burned me. I scrambled away from it, my back hitting the wall. I was hyperventilating, my mind screaming. How could it know? I spent the next few days in a fog of terror. I locked the book in a drawer, but I could still feel its presence, a cold spot in the room. The world around me continued to fade. Food was tasteless, colors were muted, sounds were distorted. My own voice, when I dared to speak, sounded like it came from far away. My reflection was a hollow-eyed stranger. I was becoming Elias. The feeling of detachment he described so perfectly was now my reality. I was a ghost in my own life. Driven by a desperate hope, I retrieved the book. So maybe the answer was in there. Maybe if I understood it, I could reverse it. I opened the drawer and my blood ran cold. The journal wasn't there. Panic seized me. I tore my apartment apart, frantically searching every corner, every cupboard, every shelf. It was gone. It had simply vanished. I collapsed on the floor, a wave of utter despair washing over me. I was trapped. The book had taken my story, taken my connection to the world, and then it had left. Days turned into weeks. I was a shell. I went through the motions of living, but I wasn't there. So I was an observer, just like Elias. I could see my hands move, hear my voice speak, but I felt nothing. The joy, the sadness, the anger, the love, it was all gone, replaced by a vast, silent emptiness. I was a character in a story that no one was reading anymore. My soul, my essence, was trapped between the pages of a book that was now somewhere else. One evening, I was walking aimlessly through the city. The lights, the crowds, the noise, it was all a blur. My journey led me, perhaps not by coincidence, back to the park. And there, on the same bench where I had found it, sat a simple black journal. My heart, or what was left of it, gave a painful lurch. I walked closer, my legs moving on their own. As I got near, I saw a young woman pick it up, her face lit up with curiosity. I wanted to scream, to warn her, to tell her to drop it and run, but my voice wouldn't work. I opened my mouth, but only a faint, airy whisper escaped, lost in the evening breeze. She opened the book. I watched as her eyes scanned the first page. I saw the moment of recognition, the spark of connection with the story inside. My story, the story of a man named Elias. She was hooked, and I knew, with a certainty, that was the only real thing I had felt in weeks, that my story was over. My consciousness was fading, dimming like a dying ember. I was being overwritten. My soul, my very being, was the ink that would write her story now. She was the new reader, and I was becoming just a memory, a forgotten character in a haunted journey, passed from one lost soul to the next. My final fading thought wasn't of anger or fear, but of a profound, hollow sadness. I wondered who would read her story when she, too, was finished. Please, if you ever find a book that seems to be waiting just for you, leave it. Just walk away. Your own story is worth more than any you could ever read. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this story, or if it sent a chill down your spine, hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the shadows. Stay safe out there.